all, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and to be with the very important people in this panel are Ana Peñuela, that's a partner at KPMG in technology. Nacho Arrieta, a Solutions Engineer Director at BME Ware. José Carlos Alba, Cyber Resilience in Kingston, Spain and Portugal. Y Sandro Mancuso, co-founder of Codurance. So welcome, guys.
Thank you.
First of all, it's a pleasure to be here with you. We spent a short time in the speaker room talking about this big issue that is CIO and alignment with the strategy and with business. As we talked before, no? It's a very, very tricky issue, and that's the first question. What is for you the role of the CIO?
Thank you.
Go, Ana.
Ladies first.
Ladies first. Thank you. Thank you. So it's a very good question about talking about the CIO position, because I think each company needs a different profile for the CIO in their company. For me, the role about CIO have changed. It's not more about a service model with a cross vision about the business. And for me, the CIO has to be the new strategic business partner. No, for me, they have to know the business about the company. So they have to become a strategic partner for the business. This is the solution.
It's funny to have this question because I believe no one of us is CIO, right? But we tend to speak with a lot of CIOs, right? So for me, definitely it's something about being an ambassador of technology within the business organization, right? I mean, if you were hearing about the previous CIO, he was putting in nice words. I mean, we are very close to business strategy and we translate it into technology, right? To drive strategic business outcomes, better engagement, better even, I would say, employee commitment to the company, right? So it's an ambassador for me, an ambassador of technology embedded into the business organizations.
Carlos, for you?
I am aligned with that thought. I think it is for me it's also a kind of bridge between business and the technical stuff, and I think it is a very important position because these worlds sometimes are not aligned, you know, and I think the CIO has the opportunity to make that this business and technology should be aligned, and they should provide the right support and the vision. So in a way, it is a guy that should translate the business requirement, the strategies into a technical vision, you know, and to communicate that to the technical staff. You know, that is a challenging role, but it's quite important.
Sandro, the stage is yours.
Thanks. So for me, the CIO is someone that really understands the full information flow. And they are in a unique position to make that bridge between the business and the technology because they understand both. They need to, right? So they need to understand where the business is going, but how that information will flow all the way from the initial strategy until how it's going to be implemented in terms of technology. So that bridge, very few people have that breadth of knowledge that can go to those two extremes, from business all the way to technology. And it's a very difficult role to play as well. And that's why we see, maybe we can discuss the overlap of CIOs with CTOs and CDOs, and because like it's a difficult role to play. There are a lot of skills that you need to have in order to play that position well.
Okay, you talk about ambassador, technology ambassador. So this CIO, how can lead this transformation inside the companies? How is the process that you think? Okay, Sandro.
Me?
Okay.
Okay.
We changed the.
Okay. So it's complicated because the CIO needs to lead upwards and downwards, right? The CIO will need to make a case to the business because they need funding, they will need budget, they have initiatives. They are pressured by the other C-level people like the CEO and the CMO and so on to achieve something, to deliver something. And in order to do that, they need financial support. So they need to lead upwards to understand that and to justify, to create this strategy that those people would be willing to say, oh yeah, that makes sense. I will put some money in there so you can execute. And then they need to lead downwards, because that's where I see most of the challenges. When you go to a boardroom, everything works. You create this plan and then boxes and arrows and they agree, oh yeah, that's a great strategy for the next 5 years. But you need to execute. And a CIO has tons of people under them. Loads of teams, different departments, different types of people. They need to bring all of that together to make sure that they execute that, because otherwise they have those awkward conversations after every quarter and say, yeah, we had a plan, you had the funding, but where are the results? So that's for me like they need to find a way to lead upwards, but most importantly downwards, so that they can execute the strategy.
That's all.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's completely true, no? And it has to be some kind visionary, because he needs to bring the vision from the C-suite, that's something that is written on the strategic plan, into and translate it into something that is actionable, right? Something that is worthy, something that is realistic, right? So I believe also as the more the technology becomes the business, we need to have a strong visions in the technology organization, right? So at least from my side, what we are starting to see is like the rise of a very charismatic type of CIO, right? Because he needs to own the vision of what needs to be accomplished, what is good for the company, put that vision into the technology organizations that, again, has to be quite embedded into the business organization, right? And then execute on that, and execute on time, execute on budget, try to reduce the liabilities of the business. We were talking about the constraints of the supply chain, how to enhance your security posture, how to create better experience, not only for your customers, but also for your employees. I mean, it takes a lot of vision, it takes a lot of charisma to make this happen, right? And so I believe we are starting to see the rise of this kind of very business-driven, technical acumen types of CIOs, right? So no more the relational type of CIOs, but a very stronghold, a very big and strong technical and business profiles.
For me, I agree with them about the vision, but in addition, I think that the CIO must to do stakeholder management too, because I think they have to have relationship with other stakeholders, no, with suppliers, public administration, startups, and other companies that can contribute to the develop the business. So I agree with you.
Can you repeat that question, please?
Yes, we are talking about that the CIO is an ambassador of the technology ambassador inside the companies. And how do you think have to be the process of this technology transformation inside the company?
Yeah, that is actually quite interesting, no? We have been working with. I like two words that is we use in Kindred in Resilience. That is experimentation, and I think is quite important, because we no longer believe in rigid resilient strategies, and it is sometimes I see in the business that all resilience is based or is covering just one risk, you know. We promote a lot of experimentation, and also we promote a lot of automation. We believe, for instance, in software-defined resilience. No, and I think if you extrapolate that to the CEO role, I think it is quite important, because with experimentation and if you implement automation, at the end it's going to facilitate a lot, for instance, POCs, and to work with partners to co-create different solutions. I think this is sometimes can be seen very tedious, because when you want to implement a POC, for instance, in a business, it can be seen sometimes as a very tedious thing to do. But if you have a business that is willing to accept experimentation and automation, it will be more easy to do it and more easy to implement new technologies.
Sorry.
So this is very important for me. I think it is very important for the role.
Okay, thank you. We say before the CIO has to be aligned with the business strategy, and even more, they have to provide the business strategy too, no? But that's not an alone work. They need their colleagues. So the next question is how can CIO reach an understanding and establish a fruitful partnership with other members of the C-level?
I can start. Yeah, I think this is not new. This is an issue that it has been there. It is there, and I think it will be there, because at the end we are talking about people that is leading technology and people that is leading business. They should work in a coordinated way. They should be aligned, and this is a challenge. So, but I think nowadays we have a lot of technology that can facilitate that alignment. For instance, cloud technologies, containers applications, where are flexible and you can scale, no, very easily. For instance, in a Black Friday, no, in a Black Friday, when imagine that Black Friday suppose like 30% of your selling. So how can you scale easily and then shut down all the infrastructure that you need, no? And imagine, for instance, if Black Friday is at 30% of your selling, you need to deploy applications also in a resilient way, no? In a resilient way that can support disruption of traditional events, but also from cyber attacks, because cyber attacks is the most disruptive thing nowadays and can have very serious outages. And in Spain are becoming more and more common, sadly, you know. So during a Black Friday, you need to deploy these applications easily, in a very scalable, and also make them resilient, you know. And in that way, the CIO is a key role, because, and also I think you need to include some risk view in all the projects, because at the end you are going to request for budget to the business, no, and in order to receive that budget, you need to put, I think, in your documentation, in your project, that risk view, but for a business point of view, you know, to support. I mean, it necessarily needs to be technical, but to talk the language of the business, and in that way you can put in context the risk and the value of the requirements of the budget that you are asking.
I was thinking about the question, and again, it gets to be an ambassador, right? It gets to showcase the technology's capabilities. If you imagine, I mean, any one of the C-suite is exposed to technology in its daily life. They use Netflix, they use Amazon for buying, and they want to acquire those capabilities, and they want to import those capabilities into the companies, right? Makes sense. You are more resilient. You can build on your strategic plan in a having better customer experiences. You can retain talent. It's normal. I mean, so one of the things we are seeing is that the C-suite, it's getting technical too, right? Because they are exposed to technology. So I believe the CIO needs to be needs to be very aware of those changes that it's happening. And for example, you can imagine, and you can see in many of the organizations that they are adopting agile methodologies that came from technology teams into the product development, right? He can be an ambassador there. He can be like the scrum master for all the company, right? So then maybe you need to go back, right? How you can import those platforms, those agile mindset, design thinking methodologies back into your company, not only on your IT, but in your company, right? So gets back, from my point of view, right, to be an ambassador, being an enabler. Obviously, as my colleague here suggests, you need to be also finance wise. You need to leverage terms like ROI, TCO, because at the end, when you are in the middle of a very important technology project, the financial, the CFO will come and say, okay, which is the return of the investment of this project? And if it's not clear, that won't go up, right? So technology is not for the sake of technology, because something that it's quite common on the technologies. We love technology, right? So we sometimes we embark in projects that, yeah, it's technology for the sake of technology. No, it's not happening. It should not happen. It's technology for the sake of business, right? So at the end, it gets to be an ambassador, showcase the capabilities of technology, and with those skills, put technology in every piece of the product management, on the supply chain management, on the employee management, and so on, right? And this is something that it's getting easier because from my point of view, the C-suite, it's getting more technological, right? So in that sense, you need to showcase those abilities.
Anna?
Agree with my colleagues. I think CIOs must play an active role educating to the leaders about technologies, because there are a lot of different technologies, and I think they have to have the common sense to determine which technology are better for their company. No, they are keeping them up to date on how investment in application, software, and processes will benefit their business. So the CIOs have a lot of work to do. They have to know a lot of innovation technologies and a lot of technology. And the most important thing is to find the use case with the business, because the business have to see how the CIO can contribute to help them in their digital transformation in the process, and they have to determine which technology is depend of the company, the context and the situation of the company, and we always recommend it start doing a proof of concept of the technology to obtain the results and the data you need to take your decision about the technology. And then finally, this is a person, and it's not only with the C-suite as you comment. They have to relationship with other stakeholders in the company and outside the company. You know.
Sandro?
The alignment. So the question was like how the CIO can align with the business, and I can see at multiple levels, right? So before, I also like to say is that it's common to see people blaming the business. People in technology, they love to say, oh, the business doesn't understand what we are doing. The business doesn't want to pay for this. The business are putting me pressure on this. They don't understand. So I'm a big subscriber of a thing that that is called extreme ownership. So every time that I'm failing to communicate, before I blame someone else, and before I start thinking, oh, this person doesn't get it, but I'm very smart, and this person doesn't understand. So like, how can I make that conversation better? How can I make this person see what I'm trying to say? So I will always put that responsibility on myself. And then from alignment, I can see many different types. One is the upwards. So for example, understand what they want. So before I go to, we need to do a cloud migration. So like, yeah, but for what? Because AWS is outside, so we need to speak to them, right? So what do they want? And then understand their pain points. And say like, okay, you would like that. What is preventing us to get there? So a lot of those discussions, they become very complicated because we don't share a common understanding. We don't really understand, so we come with solutions. Technical people love to come with solutions, but we very rarely try to agree on the problem. So that's where I would start from. Why do we are trying to achieve that? What is impeding us to achieve that? That is one level of alignment. Because once we understand what is blocking us, at that point, as a technical person, I'll be in a better position to start debating proposals to improve that, and they will be a little bit more connected. Of course, also businesses have goals. Some of you might use KPIs or OKRs or whatever else you are creating that. It's cascading them all, because sometimes we create business objectives within the CIO or CTO department. We create business objectives that you cannot trace them up. So you need to say, okay, if we are going to do those initiatives in our department, how do they impact the other ones? And that conversation needs to go up and down. So that's another level of alignment. You mentioned one alignment that was very interesting. For example, certain businesses are seasonal. And for certain seasons, you need to scale the thing, or they are mission critical, or they have sensitive information. So those are not technology problems. They're business problems. Because if my system is down during Black Friday,
Yeah.
just next year, we lost a year. Right, so technology, we need to be able to say that technology problems are business problems. So when we speak to them and say, look, we need to do all that. Why? Do you want to sell well during Black Friday? We need to be able to make sure that we can sustain that load, right? So this is one type of alignment, is aligning our architecture, our technology to the different businesses, security and so on and so forth. And there is another one that is a push-up almost. Because the CIO or the technology department, they understand how all the systems work, how the systems are built, how the technology is implemented. They can see all the inefficiencies. The people at the top, they see the inefficiencies. They are not getting something. They are annoyed. Oh, we think that everything is too slow to be done. So they see the side effect. They don't see the cause. But the CIO can see the cause. So there is an alignment in that, okay, so we can address some of those things, change our technology, or even say, hey, if we change this software or this product in this way, we can, in a simple way, create a new business line. So there is another alignment that could be, look, if we just tweak our technology in a certain way, we might even generate a new revenue stream. And this is a vision that some people sometimes at the top will not have. So there are, as I said, there are the CIO is in a key position because they have information at all levels. You just really need to be smart in understanding them and develop a better way. This is where I think that most of us fail. Should transform that information that we have in a way that other people that don't have the same background can understand. I think this is the skill on its own.
And related with this, how do you think this role have to change? Because we know that the CIO, if you put up an image of the CIO, sorry guys, you see something with a t-shirt, not very get used to be in the C-level situation. So how do you think that they have to move to fix with this other world?
Okay. So you need to figure out a way to bring something to the table. So I always say that, like, a lot of people would like to have leadership positions and they would like to belong to certain groups. It's like, I would love to influence this decision. I would love that they would listen to me, right? So all of us, sometimes we get frustrated because people don't listen to us. And then but in order for people to listen to us, first of all, we need to have a seat at that table. But you cannot just have a seat at the table if you don't bring anything to the table. Because think about you, the leadership positions that most of you probably have in here. You might be managing a lot of people. Not everyone that you are leading will have enough experience or information that will impact your decisions. So, but some people do have. What they need to develop is the skills to transform their knowledge in something that is useful to you as a leader so that you make decisions. And we need to do the same. So before I complain about, I would like them to listen to me, it's like, what kind of contributions can I make if I have a seat at the table? Or, even more important, because no one's going to give me that seat at the table. How can I get a seat at the table? And you start having your conversations. You're going to get some people in a coffee break and somewhere, and you figure out a way to start pushing your ideas. With proper business cases, with proper well-thought ideas, to the point that they start getting used to have conversations with you and say, like, you know what, maybe you should come to the next meeting. So but you need to figure out, how do I get a seat at the table, but most importantly, what do I bring to the table? And then they will listen. They listen to you, will be solved as a side effect of it.
Anna, and what's your opinion?
Well, it's important that the CIO can communicate all the work they have in the company. No, it's not only technology. The rest of the areas know or think about technology is only a cost, and this, because they have a change in these business processes, and they are able to measure about the savings or whatever. And with the technology, the most of the people think about the cost of implementing, no? The license, the service of consultancy, and whatever. And the companies always think about the information system, the system department about the costs. And I think the CIO have a very important role. It's a key role to demonstrate the contribution to the business, no? To make easier this life, no? The technology is very important. To be more effective, to be more modern with your implementation. So they have to demonstrate, they have to communicate, they have to educating the people, and to be able to transmit their value for the company, I think.
That's fine.
Yeah, I was thinking about, and it's not about having a CIO on sneakers, right? It gets to something else, right? One of the things that we are starting to see is that, I mean, it's quite normal that they are starting to see not only the C-suite, but in the board, right? So that's something. If you take in mind that, I mean, 10 years ago, the CIOs used to sit on the finance organization. That's something that you can still see, like in the very large organizations in our country, at least. I don't know in other places in Europe or worldwide. But now they are starting to sit in the board, which is great. But you touch a very nice point in the sense of, and my colleague too. He needs to know a lot of things, right? He needs. One of the things we are starting to see is that companies, they are starting to build a lot of software in-house. So why? Because it's competitive edge, right? If you need a competitive edge, you cannot acquire a commercial software. You build your own because it will be tailored for your needs. Or maybe you hire someone to build that software for you. But again, they will need to understand which is the security posture. Now, a security breach can cost the job for a CIO, even for a CEO, right? I mean, we are starting to see CIOs that are sitting on the cybersecurity councils because they understand that's a big liability. Imagine you're a bank and your credit or your data, your customer data gets leaked into the internet. That's something that happened in the past. That's something that definitely will happen in the future, right? So applications. We have data, how to use and leverage better data. Cybersecurity, how improve my cybersecurity posture. Then you have the employee experience, how I make in a market that we have a shortage of talent, how we make sure that the guys that are joining into our company, they will feel comfortable, they will have a nice, a frictionless experience with the customer, working in an hybrid mode, right? Very important too. Then you have the edge, then you have 5G, then you have robotics, you have how to enhance the supply chain. Then you need to know which is your technical depth, right? Which is the legacy I'm bringing into the future, how I position, again, which things I bring into the table to reduce my my technical debt. By the way, technical debt, that's something that it was kind of very visible on the pandemic, right? A lot of companies found out that day one on the pandemic, they couldn't work from home. They couldn't serve all the incoming, if you are a retailer, all the incoming orders coming from internet because you have very legacy systems, right? So, which is my technical debt, which is my legacy? And then you go and try to convince the C-board to have money. So, wow. I mean, it's the rise of the unicorn. It's some kind of unicorn that we are looking for. Definitely yes. But we are getting there. I mean, I see a lot of good talent. One of the things I'm starting to see is that we are in the middle of a generation change on the CIO. So I'm starting to see more ladies, which is great because it brings another point of view to the technology industry. We are starting to see younger talent. I mean, on the 40s. So it's not the CIOs. We tend to as a vendor, I tend to meet on the golf course. No, it's not that happening. So it's quite often I'm getting engaged with CIOs, and we are talking about deep dive technologies, like, hey, what you can offer on Kubernetes? What? And it's a CIO. So that's great, and I love, because I tend to feel more like they are. So it's good. It's my opinion at least.
Carlos.
Well, I think this is a cultural thing, no? I'm seeing that sometimes changing the culture of a company is difficult, you know, because at the end, companies are led by people, and you need to change the culture of a group of people. But what I'm seeing in the companies is that the CIO is more involved in everything, no? We see it. We are seeing a change in resilience, because, for instance, with cybersecurity, and especially with cyber recovery, the cybersecurity was in one side, and cyber recovery was these things is from infrastructure. It should be done by the backup guys, and now we are working together. We are putting in the table IT risk, compliance, cybersecurity, the CIO, and the guys from the backup. You know? And this is good, because along with all these people, we can go to the board of directors, you know, with a project to request the budget that are needed for these solutions, and at the end, that you needed to make your applications more resilient, and to make your business processes also more resilient. So this is one example, but we are seeing this way of work with all the practices that we have in the company, and I like, because at the end, the change of the CIO is not like is aligned with the business, and is not just a manager of the technical people anymore, you know. So I think is a person, and is a role that is serving value with data, with containers, with cloud, but also they are starting to be more, I think, because now we have better technology to scale, and more flexible technology, you know, and to reduce some management. For instance, you know, with containers, we are reducing the number of servers that we need. So, and with managed services, we are simplifying a lot of the IT tasks. We are focusing more on the business value than managing servers, you know. And this is
Great. Before you talk about the pandemic situation, right, it was more the milestone that changed the life of everybody. But in the case of the CIOs, CTOs, CDOs, I remember that thing was a kind of mess for a few months. But after that, they take a main role inside the companies, because everybody depends on them. So in that way, how can the CIOs, taking this advantage that they get in a pandemic, lead the process, or the process of redesigning all the brand business strategies and the work model to meet the demands of the new workforce? Because you talked before, there are a new, different generations working in this world. So how can take advantage, and which is the role of the CIO in this process? Anna, let's go.
Well, as you say, the pandemic has changed the role of CIO, became practically the most important people in the companies, like logistics sector, for example. No, the logistics, and nobody knows they work, and suddenly in the pandemic, the logistics are very important. With the CIO, it's practically the same, because suddenly a lot of people needs to work from home, and you need the technology to be prepared to work from your home. Actually, maybe a lot of people can work for any company in the world from home. It depends of the kind of the company and the services and the people, but wherever, if you are not prepared to permit your people work with the technology from the home, you are losing this talent, no, for the people. So I need, in this case, the main problem is not the technology, because there are a lot of technology solutions in the market to permit to work from home. It's more about what are the political for the company, no? About their employees, about how the companies wants the people work from home, what type of model of work, no? Hybrid, person, from home, and whatever. But the truth is that you have to be prepared to allow your people work from your home, because if you don't, you are refusing a lot of talent that your competence have, no? So.
Oh,
Oh, I think this is very interesting what you're saying. You say that it should lead the business strategy, no? And this is a thing that I think is more is for the CEO, and the CIO should work along with the CEO to get to understand very clearly where the business is going, you know, where the business is going, what are the products and services that you are building, and how I can support that strategy with the right applications and the right technology. And in that way, I think you need to be very aware of your limitations and your capacities, because, for instance, if your company has been working with SAP and you have a lot of expert in SAP, but suddenly the company is making something, and the right technology is blockchain, and you don't know anything about blockchain, but it is the right fit for that. So what can you do? What you need to do is to get a good business partner, technological partner, that can accompany you in that journey. And this is I think quite important, you know, to understand the limits of your capacities in your IT environment. And then how can you maintain younger workforce? This is because I'm seeing a lot of rotation, and specifically in cybersecurity is like crazy. We have a challenge, and I think every company have a challenge there to retain good technical staff. But I think they are looking also for remote work. This is a plus for them, and some flexibility. And I think you can provide some, for instance, start working with some objectives. I think it can give you flexibility, but also I think it is quite important for them because it's a challenge. So it is not just a routinary work that must be learned easily. You need to, as a manager, as a responsible, you need to try to find ways to challenge your people. I don't know, to challenge, to have retos in Spanish, no? To challenge them in a positive way, you know, to get the more value from the team. I think, and with that, it means with remote work, with flexibility, and with the correct challenge, you will be able to retain your younger people.
So, for me, the CIO in the early days of the pandemic, we all had to react. It was a problem that was thrown at us, and we just had to react and solve it. And each company solved in whichever way they could. As Anna was saying, the technologies are there. We all know that. We've been working remote for at least 2 years now. So it's totally possible. But the challenge for me, for a lot of companies, including the CIO or the technology department, is figure out what we do next. Because a lot of companies that we've been talking to, they are still a bit confused. Should we embrace fully the remote work? Should we do a partial adoption where people need to go to the office 2 or 3 days? But if you do that, does it mean that you are not going to hire someone that cannot commute to your office? Because there is that obligation to commute 2 days to the office. So the hybrid model has its challenges as well. Or do you want to push everyone to go back to the office? But then, as a lot of research says, I don't want to go back to the office 5 days a week myself, right? So why would I force someone to do that? So the CIO will need to make those decisions. What would be our policy moving forward? And when they understand, they will need to change the process, because we were reactive before. Now we need to be proactive. So, for example, a lot of companies, including ourselves, we had the strategic side is how we're going to onboard new people. Because we had 2 years to do that, and few companies are struggling with that. So if you're going to embrace full remote, how do you onboard? You need to change your processes. So for example, we had to invest a lot in evolving our onboarding process and making sure that those people will feel welcome, and you create that sense of identity, that sense of belonging. This doesn't happen just on its own. You need to design that process. You need to say there will be a process. That's gonna be when they join the company. That's the kind of meeting that they will have. We had to invest in more documentation. Our process, we didn't have a lot of documentation readily to be consumed because people would go to the office. They would speak to other people. They would know what to do. That doesn't exist anymore. So we had to enhance how we do documentation. So social events, how we bring that together. We were talking about internally different spheres of identity. Before, everyone is in the office. So the global identity was there because everyone goes to the same office. We meet each other. We all work with this company. There is a company logo there. So you have that identity. Now we lost that. A job became a job because we don't go to a physical building. But then we were discussing what are the different levels of identity. We might have a local identity. For example, people working on the same project. They have a project identity. They are because that's what they do on a daily basis. They work with that client or in that department or with that product. Then there are an identity of roles. I'm a developer, she's a developer, he's a project manager, so there is that identity of roles. There's a different type of identity. There is an identity of like, am I a full-time remote or not? There is like IT department. We are, many companies here are international companies. Yes, I work for this company, but I'm from the UK, or I'm from, so there is a different, we are a Spanish branch and stuff. So understanding that, the CIO or the IT departments, they will need to design a process to make sure that that sense of identity still exists, but it needs to be designed. So I think that that's one of the things that the CIOs will need to think. And another thing last thing that I want to in this topic is, in the past, people would follow companies. For example, I would move to Madrid or to Barcelona or to go to London because those are the companies that I would like to work for. People are moving out now. They want to come to Malaga. Why are we all here? Right? So we would not be here 5 years ago. So people are moving here. It's a building site. If you go from Malaga all the way to Marbella or even to Gibraltar, it's a building site. People are coming here. So companies are following people. So the strategy for expansion changed as well. So what kind of expansion do we want? We want a fully fledged office with sales, with marketing, with everything? Or we just want a hub so people that work in another region have a place to go just to meet each other every now and again? So all of that are things that a CIO should be thinking about and designing.
Thank you, Sandro. We are taking the last 15 minutes of this roundtable, and I want to change a bit the workforce to business and to other, I think, important issue that is very sound right now, but it's a hype. But at the end, it's a very, very important thing, that is ESG. Okay. In addition to generating revenue, technology plays a key role in achievement some of the main goals and guiding principles of the business strategy. Most of them, namely sustainability, transparency, privacy, compliance, equity, diversity, that's things. So how can CEOs make the difference in their company's ESG strategy?
So I'll start with that.
Yes.
If you go to the UN definition for SDOs, I believe I can relate 25 of them with technology. I mean, sustainability, yeah, how we can make our operations more efficient, cool. How we can hire better profiles, how we can enable a diverse workforce, as you mentioned, working from anywhere, while created that commitment, that feeling of belonging to the company, which indeed is going to be very hard, right? I mean, the CIOs need to reimagine everything. I mean, they are in a very good position. I mean, something that is clear out of this talk is that CIOs are in a key position to reimagine a lot of the things the companies are, reimagine what the company stands for, right? So everything. I mean, gender equality, having more diverse talent. We are getting to a place where algorithms will make a lot of decisions. We will need to embed some morality on that, and obviously for that we will need a diverse developer workforce to build on those algorithms. If you go to, for example, we were talking about young workforce, I would say how we avoid ageism. I mean, we have a lot of talent in the companies that have been working for 30 years, because they have been working for the 30 years, they know a lot of the things and how they work, right? How we can make everyone fit into the values of the company, no matter where they are, right? So I believe the CIOs are in a very nice position to reimagine processes for being more sustainable, to reimagine onboarding, for creating a better experience that it's sustainable and sustainable over the time, so the people feel they belong to the company, and everything, right? So SDOs, again, if you go back to strategy, SDOs need to be on the strategy, and the strategy will be executed somehow with technology. And in the middle, you have a CIO, right? So we are in a very nice situation for making everything better for the people to come, right? For the next generation to come.
Carlos.
The network. I think right now we have a lot of technologies out there that can help you a lot in your environmental strategies. No, because with cloud and AI and this, you can be more efficient in the technology that you need, and you can decrease a lot your CO2 footprint, and because you are more flexible and you can scale in and scale out based on demand, and this is meaning that you have technology that can help you to implement the policies and your vision of environmental things. And then you need to be social, no? And I think there are two things with the part of social, because there are some internal things that you need to implement probably to get more recognition of your employees, to celebrate the achievements, to be together and have some lesson learned for an incident or post-monster event, you know, that used to happen. And this is important, the social part or the internal part of be social, and also try to be social with what is happening in your city, in your town, in your community. No, companies should have that should show that empathy to the city and to the things that are happening, no, in these times. And along with that, you should build a very well a documented policy, no, public available to the company, and companies should be aware of your effort that you are doing in this area, and this will give you the support. You know, I think the CEO should lead all these tasks and should promote and be an ambassador, as my colleague said, related to all of this. Yeah.
Your opinion?
Well, is a very important issue for the companies and for us, like a consultancy. Develop a service called digital sustainability for help the companies, both of the needs, no, from the business side and from the technological side. No, we have a lot of people with a lot of knowledge about sustainability, and now we are trying to complement this knowledge with the technology. No, like Nacho said before, there are a lot of technologies currently in the markets to obtain practically carbon footprint. No, the main software vendors have a solution like SAP, Salesforce, ServiceNow, Microsoft, and a lot of solution in the market helps the client. And now they are changing. They are developing new features about the sustainability. No, and it's important. The role of the will be more. Will be key to help the companies and the business to introduce sustainability like a variable in the business. No, you analyze the cost, you analyze the impact, you analyze the sustainability impact. No, and I think it's a very important role for the CIO. because they have to help to the business to understand where and what are the sustainability moments and how do you can introduce this data in your systems, and how you can to define or to use a platform with a lot of information, not only about sustainability, about a lot of variables about ESG. So I think IT departments have a double role in this matter. No, for one side, they have implemented a lot of measures in the IT department, like the cloud, reduce energy consumption, projects of no paper, and a lot of measures you can measure your carbon footprint. The most important is the cloud, I think. There are a lot of calculators about the impact when you change to the cloud your data. But in the other hand, the CIO can complement this role with the business. Like I said that before at the beginning of the roundtable, the CIO must to be a business strategic partner. So in this occasion, they have to contribute to understand all the company that the ESG is very relevant, like variable to take decisions.
Sandro?
Yeah, so I believe that there is a personal side where we all want to contribute to the environment, to the world, to society. There is a personal side, but there is a limit to how much each one of us individually or as companies want to spend doing that with charity and stuff like that. We want to help, but would I give all the money that we have? And that's the same for businesses, right? So what is the limit? So for me, the most efficient way is what we were saying. We all want to contribute, but it needs to make business sense. Because once we can do that, when we can say, look, if we did that, this has business advantage, and also contribute to the environment or social and stuff, then you have a win-win. Then it's easier. That's an easy decision to take. The difficult decision is when you are asking someone money to put in a cause that doesn't create any return for that person's money, and you want that money, not your money, right? So I think we as technical people, we can facilitate that. We can identify opportunities. You mentioned the cloud solutions against data centers and the cost of energy and all this kind of stuff. So we are in a good position to identify those areas, financial areas that we can improve. We are in positions where we can go to cities, as you were mentioning as well, for example, and develop an industry. Like they have a technology park in here, so this will make the whole area better. And even like socially, for example, a good way of doing that is job generation. For example, I believe that most companies here are hiring. If I had to guess, at least 90% of you here, besides trying to sell your products and services, you are also trying to see if you can hire someone. And so hiring is a thing. We have a shortage of professionals in our industry. And more, it doesn't matter how they look like, we need more professionals to our industry. And I believe that one big impact that we can all make is we need to start building those professionals. For example, we are investing a lot on internal academies, internal trainings, because we cannot just keep competing or almost cannibalizing, like for example, one company hiring from each other. Because that's how it is now. So we will need to make sure that we go to the schools, we go to the universities, that not always are preparing professionals suitable to the workforce, and maybe we can complement that. We can offer those programs and start building our own people. And I think that this is another way to socially contribute massively to our society.
Okay, guys, we are ending, but at last, but not at least, if you know some person that are gonna take in this role of CIO inside a company, what advice do you give them in a very short way, like a quote, one advice?
For me, three main challenge is to be a strategic business partner, data and security, and ESG.
Go, Sandro.
I cannot do small quotes. My quotes are like half an hour long.
Like a Twitter.
They just need to be able to lead upwards and downwards. They need to understand business problems, technical problems, and making sure that there is a good connection between them. And always remember that a CIO is almost fixing an airplane while it's still on flight. Because this is another thing that we don't talk about. I know that's not a quote anymore. But this is a key job. You are trying to make changes, but you are not starting from scratch ever. You have a lot of legacy, a lot of infrastructure that you need to change to satisfy those things. And you need to be able to be very strategic to do that.
Okay, more than 140 letters.
Don't be afraid to embrace technology, to embrace a new challenge. I think this is quite important. Don't see implementing a POC or making a migration to the cloud or making your application more resilient as something tedious to do, and try to understand the business and position the right technology for them, speaking in their language. Because sometimes CIOs and technical people I have this awesome solution, but you need to transform that for the business, correctly. And that's it.
Nacho?
For me, it would be know your business, know your team, be blunt, have a vision, broke things, and wear the sneakers.
Okay, thank you everybody for being here, and thank you guys for this
Thank you,
amazing
Elena.
hour, and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you.